Good afternoon. Welcome to our City Council regular session here on Thursday, April 9th. As you can see, we're short a few people up here. The mayor and Sarah Menser are not here tonight. Oh, excuse me, Sarah is online. Will Branton, the mayor, will not be with us tonight. So if you please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Roll call, please.
Mr. Miskman,
Here.
Mr. Uniman,
Here.
Mr. Jensen,
Here.
Mayor Abou-Osley, Mr. Brandt, Ms. Spencer,
Here.
Mr. Harper.
Here. Now, if you please join me in a moment of silence. Thank you. It is now my privilege to have the oath of office for Police Officer Kyle Goodell. He'll come forward, please. Okay, if you raise your right hand. I, Kyle Goodell,
I, Kyle Goodell,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Iowa
and the Constitution of the State of Iowa
and the ordinances of the City of Marion, Iowa.
and the ordinances of the City of Marion, Iowa.
And I will faithfully and impartially,
And I will faithfully and impartially,
to the best of my ability,
to the best of my ability,
discharge all the duties of a police officer
to discharge all of the duties of a police officer
in the City of Marion, Iowa,
in the City of Marion, Iowa,
as now here or hereafter required by law.
as here or hereafter required by law.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay. So if the
Use what photos?
chief and family would want to come up for pictures, please.
Very
All right.
cool. Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay, we now have two proclamations. The first one is a proclamation for the Fair Housing Month. And City Council Member Gage Miskimen will read that. And is anybody coming forward for that?
Perfect. I don't like being up here alone, so I love that people are here. Awesome. I love it.
Who's officially accepting this proclamation though?
Civil Rights Commission?
Civil
Okay,
rights.
just making sure. Whereas April 2026 marks the 50th anniversary of the passage of the U.S. Fair Housing Act, Title 8 of the Civil Rights Act of 1968, commonly known as the Federal Fair Housing Act. And whereas the act sought to open doors of opportunity and eliminate discrimination in housing and to affirmatively further fair housing, as we celebrate the 58th anniversary of this historic legislation, we reaffirm our commitment to ensuring that everyone has equal and fair access to housing. And whereas fair housing assures individuals have the right to choose where to live without discrimination. And whereas in Marion, we want to be recognized as an open and inclusive community that is committed to providing fair housing and advocating for equal housing opportunity for all residents and prospective residents of Marion. And whereas Marion's elected officials encourage all residents and community organizations to celebrate the value of harmonious and diverse communities and support the goal of fair housing for all people. Now therefore, I, Gage Muskimen, on behalf of Nicholas Abu Osley, Mayor of the City of Marion, Iowa, do hereby proclaim April 2026 as Fair Housing Month and encourage the residents of our community and communities across the country to support fair housing.
Well done. Thank you very much. Yeah, well done. May I say a couple? words?
Absolutely.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. I'm going to turn around because I want to address the council and everything, but my name is Jay Whitaker. Currently, I'm the president of CRAR, Cedar Rapids Area Association of Realtors. And we are 800 plus members strong in this area, in Cedar Rapids and Marion. And fair housing is one of our cornerstones and so important. I just got a few words. It won't take long.
Go ahead.
Okay, a home is where families put down roots, where children grow up feeling safe, where belonging is built. Fair housing is the promise that everyone in our community deserves the chance to find that place. Marion has grown steadily in population and prosperity and possibilities. The work of fair housing is making sure that growth belongs to everyone. When we remove barriers to homeownership, we're not just opening doors to houses, we're opening doors to the community. April is Fair Housing Month, but the work doesn't stop on May 1st. We renew this commitment every time we treat someone with dignity in the process of finding a home. That's the kind of city Marion chooses to be and the kind of community worth building. So thank you, everybody, for your time, and we appreciate the proclamation. Well done.
Thank you very much.
Yep. Oh, yeah. Get a picture.
Thank you. We now have a proclamation. Grant Harper will be reading the proclamation for the Week of the Young Child. And who is coming forward to receive that?
Hi.
Thank you very much.
Nice meeting you. Very good. This is great. I too, Gage, am not alone up here.
Yeah, I know.
Okay. All right. Whereas the Iowa Association for the Education of Young Children and other local organizations, in conjunction with the National Association for the Education of Young Children, are celebrating the Week of the Young Child, April 11th through 17, 2026. And whereas by highlighting the need for high quality early care and education for all children and families within our community and the state, we support the commitment of these groups to the early care and education system in Iowa and work to ensure each and every child beginning at birth is healthy and successful. And whereas, based on the latest research on brain development and how children learn and what is known about the return on investments in young children, the City of Marion recognizes the need for access to high quality early care and educational services. And whereas the future of our community and the economy of our state depend on the quality of early care and educational experiences, as well as access to high quality early care and education programs provided to young children today. And whereas the City of Marion recognizes the vital work performed by early care and education professionals and expresses gratitude for their important services in support of children and their families. Now, therefore, I, Grant Harper, on behalf of Nicholas Abu Osley, Mayor of the City of Marion, Iowa, do hereby proclaim April 11 through 17, 2026 as Week of the Young Child in the City of Marion, Iowa.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We step to the side.
You have some comments?
Sure, yeah.
Here,
You bet.
I'll take that.
You get it.
Thank you. And I will email you my photo release.
You're welcome to make some comments if you want.
All right. Thank you so
Very
much.
good. Any words you want?
I do not have any words. Thank you
Okay, very good. Thank you. All right, this is now time for our public forum. We will have two public forums tonight. The first public forum is for comments from the public on topics listed on the agenda, but not associated with a public hearing. If there is a public hearing, you will have an opportunity at that time to voice your opinion or provide comments. The second public forum at the end will be on any topic that you wish, and you will have up to 5 minutes for any comments during either public forum. The brief rules are you are encouraged to state your name and group affiliation. There's a yellow card on the table where you come in. You can fill that out. Please address the council as mayor or members of the council. Limit your comments to 5 minutes. Do not engage in any conduct that disrupts the meeting, and do not engage in any conduct or speech that is threatening. So at this time, the first public forum is open, and this is for topics listed on the agenda, but not part of a public hearing. Is there anybody to come forth on that? Yes, ma'am.
My name is Elizabeth Sauer, and I live on Somerbrook Lane in Marion. It's a homeowners association, and it's located, we have 14 acres on 29th Avenue, and then turn at Indian Creek Elementary and go down Indian Creek, and so that it encompasses that whole corner. I'm a homeowner and a board member for the condo association. We're called the Villas of Indian Creek. And I just said we're located very close to Indian Creek Elementary and just down the hill from the high school, Linmar. Our location, I believe, is unique. And that's why I'm here to speak about the electric scooters and e-bikes that you're going to talk about, the ordinance for regulating them. With me tonight is our current president of our HOA, Wendy Brock. As I mentioned, our association sits on 14 acres along 29th Avenue and Indian Creek Road. We have 3 street entrances along 29th. Somerbrook has 2 because it's a U. The next one is Brook Valley, closest to Indian Creek Elementary. Then we also have, if you turn down Indian Creek, we have Stone Creek Court, which is off of Indian Creek. I'm the most concerned in talking to you tonight about 29th Avenue and the entrances to on those 3 streets with e-bikes and scooters. Both of these streets that our HOA is located on are extremely busy with both car traffic and sidewalk traffic. As a board member, I have had numerous concerns from our homeowners about the electric bikes and scooters on the sidewalks along 29th Avenue, heading for either the high school up the hill or the elementary school on the corner. The riders are sometimes going faster than the cars as they approach the 4-way stop at Indian Creek and 29th, and they're buzzing right on through. This is a very dangerous situation for both the riders and for the homeowners and residents who live on Somerbrook and Brook Valley as we pull out onto 29th. Sometimes if there is a car close enough parked to Somerbrook on both ends of the U, we have to stop and then roll forward a little bit in order to see around the parked car to get out into oncoming traffic on 29th. In order to pull safely into this oncoming traffic from Somerbrook Lane and Brook Valley Court, our residents must pull up slowly. And since the riders do not stop at those three entrances, they just shoot on through. I will assume that eventually a rider will be hit by
You
a
have 1
car
minute remaining.
as we are slowly trying to move out, or they're going to run into the side of our vehicle, which either way is bad. 29th Avenue is also very busy with joggers, walkers, and dog walkers. We can report that the riders do not, and let me emphasize, do not even slow down and have come very close to hitting either a resident or a dog, resulting in bodily injury to an elderly person, not to mention themselves. I called the non-emergency police number back in September, and I spoke with a Marion police officer. I reported these same issues. And then
The 5 minutes is up.
and now I am speaking to the city council. As residents of the villas of Indian Creek, we recognize the danger and the consequences associated with these electronic bikes and scooters if no action is taken by the city and the Marion Police Department soon.
Okay, Elizabeth.
Thank you for listening.
So as related to this issue, are you for or against the ordinance that is being read tonight?
I just want the children to be safe.
Okay,
I don't know. I struggled with that question, pro or con, because they're kids. Let them have their e-bikes. But I don't know what the solution is, and that's exactly what the Marion police officer told me when I called. So I don't know if it's making them have rules that they have to stop at a street.
Okay.
I don't know.
all right. Thank you for
Okay.
your comments.
Thank you for your time.
Okay. Is there anybody else to speak at this public forum on topics listed on the agenda, but not associated with a public hearing? Okay, seeing none, we will close this first public forum and move on to the consent agenda.
Mayor Pro Tem, I move the motion to approve the consent agenda as follows. Item A1 to E1, Resolution 32792 to 32801.
Second.
Okay, we got a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. Items A1 through E1, resolution numbers 32792 through 32801. Is there any discussion on these items? Seeing none. All those in favor of approving the consent agenda, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. The consent agenda is approved. We will now move on to the regular agenda.
Mayor Pro Tem, I move to approve Mayor Abu Asley's recommended appointment, Hotel Motel Grant Program Review Committee, Sarah Menser.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve Mayor Abu Asley's recommended appointment for the Hotel Motel, and this will be Council Member Sarah Menser. Any comments or discussion? All in
Just that I'm-
favor? All in favor of this motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. The motion is approved.
And I'm abstaining from that, Steve. Thank you.
Sarah will abstain. Thank you very much. Understandable.
Mayor Pro Tem, I move the motion for ordinance number 26-03, amending chapter 122 of the Marion Code of Ordinances regarding resolution for electric bikes and scooters, final consideration.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve ordinance number 26-03 related to the electric bikes and scooters. This is the final consideration. Do we have any presentation on this tonight?
We don't, but we were going to ask Chief Sprague if he could come up just to provide a bit of
Please.
summary. The council has talked about this over a couple months, but we do know that there's others in the audience that do have questions and provide a little bit of clarity of what the ordinance does, as well as some of the communication efforts that we are going to do in order to help educate users of the trails.
Yeah, so as we've talked before about this, there's several different steps to this. One is getting an ordinance in place that gives our officers the ability to have some enforcement action. Currently, there is the state law that regulates the type of classes of e-bikes, but it wasn't quite clear enough. So our goal was to try to clear that up. State law, you know, if it doesn't have a pedal, if it's less than or more than 750 watts, then we can provide enforcement. But this ordinance will allow us a little more teeth because we're putting some speed limits on there because some of these are going extremely fast. So like on sidewalks, for example, the speed limit would be 10 miles an hour on a sidewalk for these e-bikes. As we, part of the effort of going forward is not just the enforcement. A big portion of this is going to be the education piece, especially reaching out to the Linn-Mar School District and Marion Independent through the SROs and through the schools to provide education to the students, the staff, and also probably some information through email to the parents as well as what's allowed and what's not allowed. I think there's just been a lot of confusion because they've popped up a lot in different brands, different kinds, and people just don't know what's allowed and not allowed. So I know Officer Dobbs has been a little active up at Linn-Mar. When he sees ones that are clearly not legal in the state, he's approached the students and let them know, and most of the time they just didn't know. So that's going to be a big portion of this will be the education piece, as well as through the schools, through our Mary Messenger and other avenues as well.
Chief, can you just talk really briefly about some of the proactive enforcement that we will do with the bike patrol?
Yeah, so we currently sent all of our bicycles off. They've been sitting for quite a while and got them revamped and ready to go. So our officers will have those that are trained and ready to go will have bikes with them on patrol. They'll be able to jump on the trails during more downtime to provide, during those high peak times to provide the enforcement. You know, if you're off the street, it's hard to provide the enforcement on the trail, so they'll be able to get out in the trails and provide enforcement. We've had some incidents already of people calling in because of the warm weather of clearly illegal violations happening on the trails, and this will be able to help us better to be able to get out there.
Can you talk further about the education in the schools, what grades and how that will be done?
We're seeing them at all grades, so from elementary all the way through the high school. If you look at Indian Creek, you can look at the bike rack and see all the different type of scooters that are there. So this will be through all the schools. So we're going to work through the superintendents to make sure that gets pushed out everywhere.
Yeah, you see a wide variety of ages that are on scooters. I mean, all the way from elementary school, obviously all the way up through the high school. So I think that education piece is one of the most critical aspects of this.
And we are working with some of the trail associations that represent our area to help get the word out. One thing that council had talked about previously was just the speed limits and the max speed on the trails that does match with our neighboring communities in terms of the trails. So those are some things that have been done as part of this process.
Okay, thanks, Chief. We'll now open it up to the City Council for any comments, discussion, or further questions. Grant.
Well, just to follow on Chief's commentary about this, and it certainly becomes an education effort, which I think is really targeted to, you know, incenting the right behaviors by the riders. And so it first and foremost, that's fronted by awareness. And then I hope that, you know, can stick with the individual so that the concerns that were cited at the beginning of the meeting, we see a different behavior profile by the riders on these electrified bikes and the scooters. One thing that I thought about, and this is maybe for a future bit of the education effort, would it be useful in order to make it convenient for teachers, principals, parents to help educate their youthful riders, would it be possible that, and maybe this is a venture project for next year, to create a video that could be posted on the city website or the YouTube channel that can be easily accessed by everybody in order to have a consistent messaging that can be tapped kind of on a as-needed basis by whoever has an interest. So just an idea, not to create any extra work in the short term, but maybe that can be planned into for, later on in the summer. So just an idea.
And for the listening audience, I think one other aspect of this we have discussed in prior meetings about the e-bikes is that if it's approved, once the ordinance is in place, two things. One, it will be reviewed on a periodic basis. And two, the ordinance can always be changed or amended. So, any other comments? All right. We'll take a vote. All those in favor of approving the final consideration for ordinance 26-03 related to e-bikes, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Okay, the ordinance is approved.
Yes, Mayor Pro Tem, I move to approve ordinance number 26-04, amending chapter 313-4.4 of the Code of Ordinances, establishing the speed limits on Highway US 151 and Iowa 13, and this is our final consideration.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve ordinance number 26-04 related to speed limits on Highway 151 and Highway 13. Final consideration. Any discussion? Seeing none. Excuse me? Seeing none, all those in favor of approving ordinance number 26-04, please say aye.
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 Opposed, say no. The ordinance is approved.
Mayor Pro Tem, I move to approve ordinance number 26-05, approving a rezoning request from Lynn County A agricultural to MR2 high-density multifamily residential and BC community business for properties located north of Highway 100, South Munia Road, east of South 31st Street, Marion, Iowa. This is Atlas LP Company LLC, Atlas Limited Partnership, Atlas Building Company LLC, and the HJ Bjornson Family Trust for final consideration.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve ordinance number 26-05, approving a rezoning request. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of approving ordinance number 26-05, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Ordinance number 26-05 is approved. We now have a public hearing regarding the status of funded activities regarding the Community Development Block Grant Disaster Recovery Program for the Bell Tower Lofts Project.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem, members of the City Council, Paula Mitchell with ECCOG. And as noted, this is a required public hearing triggered when a project receiving CDBG funds reaches approximately 50% expenditures. So that's why we're here tonight. And it will seem very much like I'm reading from a script. That's because we have some required points to cover and make sure that those are incorporated into your minutes. So with that, as required for this hearing, it's noted that for a general description of accomplishments to date, a CDBG disaster recovery housing contract in the amount of $2,595,000 was awarded to the City of Marion from the Iowa Economic Development Authority for the construction of 30 units at 1277 8th Avenue, with the release of funds issued on September 11th, 2023. A development agreement was signed with 1277 8th Avenue LLC on December 7th, 2023. A pre-construction conference was held on July 16th, 2024, and housing construction began in the summer of 2024. Roof repair and tuck pointing are complete. Framing and mechanicals have been approximately 60% completed, and interior drywall has been approximately 75% completed. For a summary of the expenditures to date under the grant through March 31st of 2026, a total of $1,007,894.03 has been invoiced to the city. And of that, $894,653.53 are for construction expenses, with the remaining $113 $1,240.50 for project service delivery. Construction items included materials and labor for the construction of the units at 1277 8th Avenue. For a general description of the remaining work, some drywall, mechanicals, and finished carpentry remain to be completed, as well as reinstallation of the restored stained glass windows. The estimated completion date is July of 2026, at which point 51% of the units will need to be rented to income-eligible renters as stipulated in the grant agreement. The remaining 49% of units are allowed to be market rate. And for a general description of changes made to the project budget, performance targets, activity schedules, project scope, location, objectives, or beneficiaries, a contract amendment was approved on May 28th of 2025 to extend the performance timeline to December 31st, 2026, which includes rent-up reporting, submission of final claims, and closeout activities. And the project is currently on track to meet that. That's all I have. I'll turn it back to the Mayor Pro Tem.
Perfect. Paula, thank you for that update on the Bell Tower Lofts project. All right, at this time, this is a public hearing, so is there anybody else wanting to make any comments related to this item? Okay, seeing none, we will close this public hearing and move on to the next public hearing. So this is a public hearing regarding amendments to Chapter 340-8.3, sign regulations of the Marion Code of Ordinances related to marquees and electronic message centers.
Good evening, Council. Upon receiving a request to amend the sign regulations in regards to a digital component associated with marquee signs and following discussion and direction with council, staff is proposing amendments related to electronic message centers and marquee signs. First amendment that I bring before you is a change to the definitions part of the sign regulations, removing marquee sign from the existing grouping it is with awnings and canopies, and making a more defined definition of marquee signs. Here is the relation to marquee signs. This amendment clarifies where electronics message centers and changeable copy signs are permitted, limits them to the specific zoning districts, and to where the EMCs would be incorporated into marquee signs, where performing arts venues, cinemas, and public assembly uses are permitted. This amendment maintains consistency with the existing sign regulations by applying current limits to the number of signs, individual sign size, and total sign area, ensuring there's no increase to the overall signage intensity in regards to a digital component with marquee signs. Finally, staff is proposing performance standards for digital components with existing marquee signs. This includes what exists now in the ordinance in regards to copy areas not changed more than every 8 seconds. There's no scrolling or video messages permitted. And this includes that all electronic message centers and reader boards shall have a related ambient light out levels. In addition, we're proposing that hours of illumination for the digital component in regards to marquee signs, and requiring that the digital component with the marquee sign is fully integrated into the marquee sign. That's it?
That it?
Yes.
All right, this is a public hearing related to the new ordinance or the new updated amendment related to marquees and electronic message centers. Is there anybody here wanting to make any comments related to this item? Have we received any other messages related to this?
No comments were received.
Okay, we'll note that for the record. So we will now close the public hearing and move on to the ordinance.
Mayor Pro Tem, I move to approve ordinance number 2606, approving the amendment to chapter 340, 8.3, sign regulations of the Marion Code of Ordinances related to marquee and electronic message centers initial consideration.
Second, sorry.
Okay, we got a motion and a second to approve ordinance number 26-06 related to the marquees and electronic message centers. Any comments or discussion by city council?
Just a question.
Go ahead.
Sulen, can we back up a couple of slides if possible where, or did we move away from that presentation? Okay, a couple more. There. For those where it is, what I'm looking at is where it is not permitted in the OS, M1, M2, and ROS. Can you tell us what those specific areas are? So what is the OS?
I don't have that in front of me. Yeah, you.
Go ahead, Nicole.
So OS is our zoning district for office and service.
Okay.
The M1 and M2 are manufacturing zoning districts, and then ROS is recreation and open space.
Okay.
So this is specifically for building signs. This is not for the freestanding signs, so we still allow the electronic message center in like the monuments in these areas.
Okay, thanks for decoding that. I was just curious what that, I have a lot committed to memory, but not that.
Any other comments or questions related to this ordinance? All those in favor of approving ordinance number 26-06, please say aye.
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 Opposed, say no. The ordinance is approved. We now have a public hearing regarding an amendment to ordinance number 24-21 regarding the Marion Enterprise Center design guidelines for property generally located south of Highway 151 and east of 62nd Street, Marion, Iowa, and this is brought by the Marion Economic Development Company. Who is presenting? You got that presentation too? Go ahead.
The applicant has requested changes to the existing Marion Enterprise Center MEC design guidelines. The guidelines will apply to the areas shown here on the map. Proposed amendments focused on updating select sections of the design guidelines to clarify wording and grammatical error corrections. Also, current language use mandatory terminology, and proposed changes introduces a flexible advisory language where appropriate. This slide highlights one example of where language updates are being proposed. The intent is to make the guidelines clearer while maintaining their purpose and direction. Amendment shown here is to better align with city terminology that we use in regards to the sign. And these updates will continue to ensure development with the MEC meets the quality design expectations envisioned when the district was created. That's it.
Thank you very much. Is there anybody here that wants to come forward to speak to this matter?
Good evening, Council. Brady Quinn with Marion Economic Development. I just wanted to point out more so the letter that Mark wrote, kind of in your guys' document there. And the idea really is that we want to be able to respond as quickly as possible to the market, as well as, project needs. I know, Steve, you're kind of a part of a conversation right now that we're seeing, but this is more so on existing buildings. When these guidelines were built and when we went back and updated them, it was more based on greenfield projects and buildings built from the ground up. We've continued to see the market be really attracted to existing buildings. We've now had one building sold, which I think you guys saw, I want to say a few months ago, MacArthur Company, that ended up wanting to add a dock door that was on an existing door. So honestly, just this idea of being able to make sure that we are responding as quickly as possible to the market and providing those opportunities that we see appropriate, and being able to do that at a staff level and working with our partners here at the city based on the guidelines and more of the flexibility of the wording to make sure then that we go through our Medco Holdings board as well and kind of get all those parameters checked, but is more so the wording is yes to be more flexible, but also looking at it from an existing building standpoint and making sure we're able to meet the demands of the market. So any other question, be happy to answer or clarify.
So the Enterprise Center, how long ago was this Enterprise Center established, I think, for people listening?
Yep. So 2010
Okay.
was the year that the MEC was quote unquote launched. As far as when it became certified, certified states throughout the state of Iowa was 2012. So we were actually, the MEC was the first certified state in the entire state of, the first certified site in the entire state of Iowa. So that is something that we're proud of and have been able to see some continued growth, but knowing that it had been 15 years or so since we'd updated those documents. That is what we did first, and now are again responding to market updates and considerations that again we didn't think about from an existing building standpoint.
And we've understand, we've had conversations at City Council that we know the market has changed quite a bit over the last 10 to 15 years.
Yep, exactly. Whether it be from the size of the lots, and again, I keep going back to existing buildings just based on costs right now, but also just thinking about as our community has changed and we've continued to see businesses grow within our community, how can we continue to respond to those also in a appropriate time frame as well.
Okay. Thank you, Brady. Yep. Is there anybody else that wants to come forward to speak to this matter relating to the Marion Enterprise Center? Have we received any other correspondence related to this?
No comments were received.
Okay, seeing none, we'll put that into the record. We will now close the public hearing and move on to the ordinance.
Mayor Pro Tem, I move to approve ordinance number 26-07, approving amendment to ordinance number 24-21 regarding the Marion Enterprise Center design guidelines for property generally located south of Highway 151 and east of 62nd Street, Marion, Iowa. This is Marion Economic Development Company initial consideration.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve ordinance number 26-07 related to the Marion Enterprise Center design guidelines. Any further comments or discussion? Grant.
Yeah, very quickly. So the net that I take away from the presentation and Brady, your comments, is basically number one, we're getting that documentation in alignment with city verbiage and language. And then the other thing is imparting a little bit of increased latitude in order so that you can respond to the marketplace or a given prospective buyer. So I think that's all worthwhile.
Okay, ready to vote? All those in favor of approving ordinance number 26-07 related to the Marion Enterprise Center design guidelines, please say aye.
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 Opposed, say no. The ordinance is approved. Okay, it is now time for our second public forum. This is available for comments from the public, and this may be made on any item that you wish to make a comment on. Please understand that the City Council will not take any action on your comments at this meeting due to requirements of the open meeting law, but may do so at a future meeting. Is there anybody that wants to come forward at this time to make comments at this public forum?
Hi, Ed Mulholland, 4740 Fairways Court in Marion. Just like to say a few words about the landfill situation. I understand it's kind of a tough issue for the council. But what's before you with this landfill situation is an opportunity to do something really great for the community and the county and probably the region. And my hope is that you agree the landfill needs to be turned into a modern, transformative, productive landfill. What I'm referring to is a waste to energy facility that can produce byproducts such as electricity, hydrogen, steam, and products like fertilizer, stone that can be added to concrete, insulation, among other products that are all revenue producing. With some of the technology available, there's not even a need to bury anything in the ground at all. Would it then be a landfill or would it be an industrial site? There was a guest column, opinion column in the Gazette, March 23rd, with the headline, "Keep Iowa at Forefront of Energy and Innovation." The writer states, and I'll quote 4 words, "Innovation is not optional." Innovation is not optional. It seems to me that every new endeavor undertaken by any organization should be looked at through the lens of innovation and technology. I'll give you one example. With the increasing demand for energy, especially with the data centers coming, why not add electricity to the grid by producing electricity from waste? In making this new governance change for the landfill, which you are in the process of doing, and you have an opportunity to change the status quo. Of course, the status quo at the landfill is to bury the waste. In my opinion, Marion needs to be a dominant position on this new governing board, not a subordinate position. We can learn a lot from studying history of the current landfill board and what indications they have shown toward innovation over the years. In viewing the 3 sessions of the working committee to change the governance model for the landfill, and probably a lot of you also watched those 3 sessions, I kept hearing the word diversion. Diversion is not the answer. In fact, diversion is the complete opposite of a modern waste to energy landfill. There was very little discussion about technology. I hope before you vote to change the governing model, which in my opinion puts Marion, as I said, in a subordinate position, you will do due diligence to study what benefits a waste to energy facility can bring to Marion and Lynn County. And I also hope we will talk to experts in the field to find out about all the technologies available. What an incredible opportunity you have before you. Take advantage of it. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else that wants to make any comments at this public forum?
Hello, my name is Iris. Just want to say thank you to the council. Chief, happy to see everyone here tonight. I also live in Marion. I've been living in Marion since maybe around 2007. I continue to live here because I believe in our potential to move beyond the reputations of the past and become a leader in equitable policing. I'm here today, not just to recount a tragedy, but to talk about relationships, how we build them, how we leverage community partners, and how we repair them when they're broken. We often talk about training, but training is secondary to relationship building. I want to take a moment and highlight someone, Officer Dobbs. I want to highlight him as an example of what it looks like in practice. Years ago, during an active shooter training at Linn-Mar High School, I experienced a personal moment of high anxiety. Officer Dobbs didn't just see a situation to manage. He saw me as a person. His professional, personable, and genuine care helped me through that moment. I maintained that respect for him as an individual in a system of policing that sometimes misses that opportunity to humanize someone in crisis and figure out how to support them through it. He is also the face of the SROs and has shown an ability to engage with our youth and residents as human beings. When you have a genuine relationship, you are more apt to understand a situation rather than jump to conclusions. This is the standard of policing we should expect across all departments. This continues to be a need following the tragic after the shooting of Sabre Bernard. Meaningful policing requires transparency with the very communities most affected by it. We can't wait for another tragedy before we want to start a conversation. By engaging marginalized voices today, we move from a culture of us versus them to one of collaborative improvement, ensuring that when the next crisis happens, we have the relationships necessary to heal and evolve together. I would like to also take a moment to address the city attorney's clarification regarding social media policies from our last meeting. After a thorough review of our various cities, police, and news outlet pages, I want to make a correction from my previous public comment and apologize for my misstatement regarding the city's social media and the way it was moderated. Our previous statement confused 3 different statements from the Marion Police Department's Facebook. The February 4th post, it had 117 comments. February 5th was a media release, and it had 45. March 10th was an update, which contained the link to an Attorney General's review and the video footage. So upon closer inspection, I see that on March 10th, post actually had 1 public comment. I appreciate your attorney, Kara's clarification on this, and I want to ensure on the record that this reflects these specific details accurately, as it's a part of my integrity, it's part of my character. And as my honesty and integrity, it is important to me. And I want to make sure that I correct my misstatement. However, the core of my concern remains when the community is grieving and seeking answers, the way we manage these digital platforms and engage with the family deeply impacts
You have
trust.
1 minute remaining.
As a Black woman, my experience in a local business on our streets is shaped by systemic perceptions and a lack of cultural awareness and cultural humility. When I am passionate, I'm often perceived as angry. When you don't have a seat for us at the table, or if the table only reflects one perspective, you miss the nuance of visible and indivisible disabilities and lived realities of people of color and those addressing their own mental health needs right here in our community of Marion. Nothing can change without admitting the process failed. We cannot have repair without the relationship part of the equation. I don't want this to happen, and I know you don't want this to happen. So I'm just asking council, Marion Police, to move toward a model of policing that is truly relationship-centered. Let's leverage our community, volunteers, and organizations to ensure that when a crisis occurs, the city
5 minutes
responds
is
with
up.
empathetic and partnerships. Thank you.
Thank you, Iris. Is there anybody else that wants to come forward at this public forum?
Good morning, good afternoon. What day is it? I know what it is today. Good evening. So my name is Erica Bernard. I live here in Marion, Iowa. I am the aunt of Sabre Bernard that was killed on February 4th of this year. And I come here asking again that somebody reaches out to me. I don't know the right protocol to talk about how my family was treated after the incident. I'm aware that there's some legal things that can't happen about the actual incident. But I do think our experience as a family deserves to be heard, and there needs to be some recognition on how we were treated. For example, if I were to step on your toe and it hurts, and the only way you get a sorry is on Facebook, and somebody else has to tell you that, would you think that I actually cared? Probably not. There's lots of incidents that happen after the fact that still need to be addressed because there's pain and there's hurt on Deer Valley Road in Marion, Iowa. My family, my mom that lives on that street, her grandson died right in the front of her house where he played hopscotch when he was 9 years old. There's a whole neighborhood that's broken behind this. And I feel like everyone's just bulldozing over the fact that there's still pain there that hasn't been addressed. And I've come here with grace. I've come here with humility. And I just want somebody to take accountability for the aftermath that was caused from that event. There's nothing that you can do further beforehand. But there are things that I can help. I'm not a threat. I don't believe legally saying I'm sorry or my condolences face to face takes any responsibility. It just shows that everyone is human. And I think that's the missing aspect of all this. I don't feel heard, I don't feel supported, and neither does my family. There's lots of people scrutinizing things that have been said in these public councils, and people are paying more attention to try to fix narratives instead of try to fix problems. There are problems that happened after the event that need to be addressed. So instead of critiquing words and wordsmithing and trying to figure out what somebody said is wrong, how about fixing the things that you know are wrong? How about asking my viewpoint on how this city can be all and everyone, such as all those proclamations that happened today that mentioned all and everyone? It's all and everyone besides the Bernard family right now because I don't have dignity, and neither does my family, and neither do my mom's neighbors on Deer Valley. And this is not just my voice, I'm speaking for them as well, because they do feel lost in that. So please reach out to me and help me strategize on how I can help improve the process on how things are handled after an incident like February 4th. And I hope it doesn't happen again, but if it does, I want you to have the right protocols in place so people don't feel like my family feels. Thank you.
Thank you, Eric.
Mayor Pro Tem,
Yes.
I would make just a brief statement that the city has been in consistent communication with the attorney for the estate. Immediately following the incident, there were several different individuals who have asserted publicly that they represent the family or the estate. That led to some confusion. After some time, it was determined that some of the people making those statements did not actually represent the family. In order to keep this consistent, we would ask that anybody who has questions or is purporting to represent the family reach out to the attorney for the estate to ensure that everything is communicated accurately and consistently. But also, once somebody has legal representation, it's actually unethical for any attorney representing the city to reach out to any individual that would be covered under that representation In addition, it would be inappropriate for the city to have those separate meetings. So at this time, all communication is going through the legal representative.
Okay. Thank you for those comments and that clarification. Is there anybody else that wants to come forward at this public forum?
Hello, good evening, Council. I'm Cersei Stumbo, and I'm here representing the Marion Alliance for Racial Equity. I actually wanted to first thank Ms. Strong and Ms. Bernard for bravely speaking tonight, and I am still hopeful that the city can find a way to work on relationship repair and accept their invitation to collaborate for continuous improvement. We also want to acknowledge the appointment of Cody Sierra to the Civil Rights Commission, which was on your consent agenda tonight. I want to thank Cody for stepping forward, and we look forward to getting to know them. We also want to take this opportunity to thank the City of Marion for your decision to stand by the Marion Civil Rights Commission. The recent passage of Iowa Senate File 579 has fundamentally altered the legal landscape for local commissions across Iowa. By making local civil rights commissions permissive rather than mandatory, the state placed a bit of a question mark over the local infrastructure. Several of us attended last week's meeting of the Civil Rights Commission, and we were relieved to hear that you are standing by our commission, and it will continue to exist and be of service to our residents. So thank you for that. We're also glad that you clarified the impact of Senate File 579 on protected classes at that meeting. The legislation removed your ability to establish independent categories of protected classes, which is causing you to change not one, but two classes of people from our local practice. While this, we believe, is a trampling of local control, and while we are sad that an individual can no longer file a claim of discrimination based on gender identity specifically, we are pleased that you recognize the law does not mean that the city or the commission is barred from participating in events like Transgender Day of Visibility. We greatly appreciate that recognition and hope you will continue to interpret the law in ways that mean you do not over-comply when the state laws roll back protections. We further would appreciate you educating the public that while state laws may change, federal protections against gender identity discrimination remain intact. And then finally, SF 579 also changes the process of managing complaints. So many of potential complaints will be sent to the state to adjudicate rather than localities. A key point we want to make here, though, is that though these complaints will now be handled by the state, the law does not remove the need for local guidance. We urge our commission to adapt to this new reality by pivoting toward aggressive advocacy, education, and navigation. Our Civil Rights Commission should be the local bridge helping residents file and track those claims when they have to go to the state. I want to close by noting that the Iowa Safe Schools and a coalition of Central Iowa LGBTQIA+ organizations recently released a joint statement that we believe can serve as a roadmap for our city. They wrote, quote, "In this moment, our collective response is clear. We will continue to show up with care, connection, and advocacy," close quote. The Marion Civil Rights Commission needs to continue to be a visible part of that care and connection at community events and through city strategies of community education. Even if our regulatory powers have been restricted by the state, our voice has not been silenced. So we appreciate you sending a clear message to the marginalized folks in Marion and hope you'll continue to echo the words of that coalition we mentioned. We see you, we support you, and you belong here. You are not alone. We hope you continue to use your platform to ensure Marion remains a place where every resident, regardless of their gender identity or orientation, can live with safety and dignity. The law has changed how we must operate, but it has not changed the necessity of our Civil Rights Commission. Thank you for your assurance that our commission will remain a strong, active pillar in our community. We trust you will stay on course with that commitment. Thank you.
Thank you, Cersei.
Your Honor, just
yes.
Point of clarification. The last speaker mentioned relationships and the offer. We've emailed back. The latest email that we had was April 2nd. In that, we shared that we're continuing to work with NAACP on creating, establishing a broader regional approach that includes appropriate partners on some mental health topics. We have extended an invite to that group to submit any specific topics, concerns, or materials in writing that we would consider as part of that planning.
Okay, thank you for that update. Is there anybody else that wants to come forward during this public forum? Okay, seeing none, we will close the public forum and move on to council comments. Mr. Harper.
I don't think I have any this evening. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Udemy.
I have a comment. Next week is the National Public Safety Telecommunication Week. I want to use this time to recognize our good folks who answer the 911 calls when they come in and who help the officer and the caller in the whole process. And I would say keep up the good work and keep doing what you do.
Nice.
Sarah, do you have any comments?
I do. On the 18th, so a week from Saturday, is the Marion City Showcase and YMCA Healthy Kids Day. This is a free community-wide event, not just Y members, the entire community. It's at the Marion Y from 9 until noon. There will be representatives of all the city departments. There's lots of children's activities and giveaways and ways to learn more about what the city does, to learn about the healthy pillars of the Y, and that we know our city council will also be present. So it's a big event. Hundreds and hundreds of kids attend this event and their parents. So, and it's an open house in between. So encourage the community members to stop on by and learn more.
Yeah, I've attended that event every year. That is a fantastic event. I think almost 1,000 kids show up. They play lots of games, get involved in educational things, have a lot of fun. And every kid walks away with a few gifts and items, toys to play with from that. So at this time, we have a closed session.
Mayor Pro Tem, I move the motion to adjourn to closed session regarding real estate transactions permitted under section 21.51J of the Iowa Code.
Second.
Okay, we got a motion and a second to adjourn the closed session regarding real estate transactions as permitted under section 21.51J of the Code of Iowa. Legal statement, please.
Thank you, Your Honor. I've reviewed the proposed subject matter for the closed session and find the same to be appropriate under Iowa Code, section 21.51J.
Thank you. Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Miskman, Mr. Uniman, Mr. Jensen.
Yes.
Mayor Abalosely, Mr. Brandt, Ms. Menser,
Yes.
Mr. Harper.
Yes.
Okay, we are now adjourned to closed session. Thank you.